Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is March the 29th, 2021, and today the topic is a lesson in humility. As you guys know, yesterday was Palm Sunday. We are in Holy Week, right? I guess I don't know how we can look at this with the Super Bowl of Christianity is coming around the corner. And I mean, maybe this was a good time to get reminded of this today. I mean, obviously, okay, so my prayer meditation was centered around humility. And, but I was distracted. Not thinking about things outside of the Bible, but just kind of thinking about a lot of different stuff. I guess including like the talk of the weekend, the gentleman I was talking to you guys about on Saturday, as well as like just all the stuff going on in the world, right? And so, by the time I did finish my prayer and meditation, now I noticed this, but at the same time, I just was like thinking about everything else to the point where I kind of like put it to the side, put my thought to the side, or my original thought, which was about the prayer and meditation. So, I guess that thing is that I don't know if this is just me, even though I don't know how it could be, but I don't know. It's like the more I hear and read the Word of God, the more I see that we are not operating in what it says. Even when it comes to this whole humility conversation, because, it's like we can quickly point out other people's sins, right? Or we could quickly point fingers, or we could quickly, I don't know how else to say that. Basically, yeah, like that's, we all can quickly do that, right? But when it comes to being Christ-like or operating the way Christ did, obviously this is something we struggle with. I am totally talking to myself this morning as well. Because y'all know, I tell y'all all the time, I'm like, man, hey, I'm out here, I'm trying to do the Great Commission or whatever. I'm trying to, do God's will. And he said, go make disciples. And he said all this stuff. So I'm trying to do that, right? But at the same time, I'm like, but hey, make your own decision, X, Y, and Z, right? Which, obviously is part of it, I guess, to a certain extent. But, I've been honest and told you guys that, I've struggled with this, this concept of, I hate to say it this way because it sounds terrible, but I don't know how else to say it. So basically, do I love people? Now, obviously, I try to operate in love and show love, but if I'm at the point where I don't care for others, you know what I mean? Or if I'm like, oh, well, leave them to their reprobate minds, you know what I mean? Like, do I truly have love? You know what I'm saying? And this is something I have to question myself about. I'm not sitting here and, again, honestly, again, I know I share this Bible study situation with you all. That's technically what this is. That's just, but perhaps I'm talking to myself this whole time. You know what I'm saying? Perhaps this whole thing is for me. And then if anybody else listens to it, then it's like, okay, it's for you too, whoever listens to me. But, I don't know. That's a whole other topic, right? But I don't know, y'all. This is something that I guess is being brought to my attention this morning. By all the plethora of topics that went through my mind. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, or at the end of my time of, figuring out like what it was that I guess the Lord was saying to me this morning through all of the different ideas and things that I was looking into. At the end of the day, it came back to this word humble, back to this topic of humility. And, I guess perhaps put some things in perspective that, hopefully all of us can kind of, get something from. Check ourselves. Now, one of the first things that popped into my mind this morning was like getting our own house in order. Because, a friend of mine, I was chatting with her about some of the stuff that was going on or whatever. And, at the end of the day, again, we can look at others. We can point fingers. We can be like, oh, this person is, doing this and that person's doing that. And they are not doing what the word says or whatever the case is. However, it's like, so part of me, my first thoughts this morning was like getting our own house in order, making sure that, we and our children and everything like that are operating according to what the Word of God says, and not focusing so much on the unbeliever, but focusing on like, okay, Miracle, what are you doing? Okay, and what are you teaching? In my case, I'm like, what am I teaching my son? Things like that, and focusing on my household, right? Which is part of what we should do. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but that brought up the question to me, like, well, where does the unbeliever come in? Because it was like, I know that the word says we need to be out here making disciples and all this, and where does that come in? And then, like, what does that look like? And I know there was like, I'm like, okay, well, what about the verses saying that, we try, and then if they don't receive it, just dust dust our feet off and like leave it at that. Like, so these are all the questions that was coming into my mind this morning as I was thinking about everything. And as I was researching, because the more questions came into my mind, the more I read and the more I tried to get more understanding. Eventually, I just kind of felt as if, like, overall, that there's just confusion. There's just so much confusion about a lot of different things. It's like, because believers, or there's people that claim to be believers, but then they're not doing what the word says, or living according to the word, or whatever the case is. And so that's confusing, because it's like, well, are you a real believer? Like, I guess that goes to having a form of godliness and denying the power and everything like that. So you got that, and then you also have the straight up unbeliever, people that's like, oh, don't judge me, X, Y, and Z, which actually I found a verse today. Like, it's not in I don't think it's in this, because I got back to it. Anyway, but as I was doing my little research or whatever, I did come across a verse that was saying more so like, the judgment or righteous judgment is more so for other brethren, and not for, in regards to us, is for like, other brethren, and not necessarily the unbeliever, because God's judging the unbeliever. So, hey, perhaps, the unbelievers are right in that aspect of being like, only God can judge me, because they're correct in that aspect, according to that verse that I read. So it just was, So I just had a lot of different things that came into my mind this morning. But eventually, I can't remember what the last thought was that got me back to humble. I can't remember in this moment. But basically, there was something that I was looking up, another, like a topic before my humble topic, and I was looking that information up, and as I was reading it, one of the words stood out to me in the midst of the verse, and it was the word humble. And again, that's what brought me back to the prayer meditation. It brought me back to the original thought of the fact that we should humble ourselves, right? So I think, and I think maybe this is what ties it all together, like all my different thoughts that I had this morning, is the fact that, like I said, me checking myself to be like, hey, Miracle, you know what I mean? God showed me grace and mercy, therefore I need to show others grace and mercy. How long did it take for me to, get some understanding or whatever? So that same thing to show to others, or hey, loving one another and to the point, and that, and the whole being Christ-like thing. But let me get into this, because obviously I done sit here and share. I guess this is me trying to explain how I came to the topic today, and I don't know if I really explained it, but that's how we got here this morning. So here we go. So the definition of humble says having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. That is the first definition that I came across this morning for humble. Let me keep going, because I'm going to get into some of the verses or whatever that I was just about to say. So James 4:10 says, humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. Basically in the go deeper section, do I want to go and talk about that? I guess so. I don't know. So in the go deeper section, there's going to be this, there's going to be Luke 14:8-11. But the verse that stood out to me the most in that section was this. It was Luke 14:11, and it says, for everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. When you all look at that in the Go Deeper section today, because I know you're going to read it. I know you're going to read it for yourself. But just to paraphrase a bit of what that parable or whatever was saying, is just basically like, it's kind of describing like a wedding situation or some type of feast or whatever the case is, and you go into the feast and put yourself in a position of authority or significance or honor, a place of honor at this feast. And then it's like the host of the feast has to come and be like, hey, actually your seat is over there. You know what I mean? And it said it's better to be, put yourself in a lower position or a lower place of honor, and then have the host come up to you and be like, hey, actually your seat is up here amongst the, X, Y, and Z. So that's what that section was talking about. But again, you guys are going to read it all for yourself. But I guess I gotta, I don't know. Like I said, that one stood out to me this morning, and it, the whole thing kind of gave me a perspective. I could just see that playing out, and I could see like what that looks like or whatever the case is. And so, just something to think about as we go on, right? So Romans 3:23 says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." This is why we should be humble, because at the end of the day, we all have need for, the grace and mercy of God. We all have need for Jesus and what he did on the cross. And so because of that, none of us can sit here and boast about our own or saving ourselves or whatever the case is. None of us have that story. All of us are, have to humble ourselves and understand that, hey, what Christ did made a way for me. And that's the thing. Now, this is going to be for people that believe they ain't no sin in X, Y, and Z. There's this verse here, 1 John 1:8 says, "If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us." So that's something to think about if you feel like you ain't never sinned. But, we ain't got to touch on that right now, because we're going to stay humble. We're going to stay in a humble conversation. But Proverbs 22:4 says, "The reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life." And I guess these are things that we all want, right? I mean, that's why we glorify all of the riches of this earth, or those that it's like, oh, we want to have a certain status. People will try to work towards the status, or work towards, a financial, I don't know, riches, or all the different things. But this is how you receive those things according to the Bible. And so that's the thing, y'all. It's just so much. Like, there's just so much where it's like, what things should look very different. If there are truly as many believers as the statistics say, then our world should look different. But it don't. Like, the world looks complete opposite of this. So, I mean, I guess that says something, you know what I mean? That says that we're not truly, I hate to be like believers, but I mean, I for lack of a better way to say it right now, perhaps we're not all truly believers. Now, so I guess this gives us a perspective of, how we should operate and everything like that. I mean, again, understand that this topic of humility and stuff can be talked about a lot of different stuff. I mean, it can be, people speak all the time about like Martin Luther King type of humility, like, turning the other cheek and all that type of stuff. But I mean, I'm just saying across the board, like, without even getting into like specifics of different situations, it's just like a daily humility, a daily humbling of ourselves is from what I'm understanding, it's like most likely what we should be doing to truly be Christ-like and to truly be Christians and to truly be believers. But again, let's take a look at it here. So Philippians 3-8, I believe, says, "Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross." So this is our example, right? I mean, at least that's what it's supposed to be. This is our example. And so, I mean, you have to go deeper. I mean, obviously there's going to be verses that can, you all can go deeper with on this, or, on the subject and everything like that. But I mean, it's with that being our example, then, I mean, I guess we should ask ourselves, like, how can we do this in our everyday life? Like, how can we remain humble? I think it's like kind of just, again, reminding ourselves that, we all need grace and mercy. We all have sinned. Therefore, we all need the grace and mercy that Jesus provided by what he did on the cross. And that's that. And we should humbly share that with others. And so that, I think, I don't know if I'm going to talk about this another time or whatever the case is. But I had to even do a little extra research and whatnot on the concept of the Great Commission, as well as like an evangelism and stuff like that. Because obviously, everything is topsy-turvy in this world. So no matter what a Christian does, for example, if we go out here and do what the word says, which is make disciples, people will make that seem as if we hate someone, or make that seem as if that's an unloving thing to share the gospel. When on the contrary, like I said, I mean, I had to sit here and ask myself about, do I have love? Because if I'm at the point where I question whether I should even care about someone that seemingly have already made their choice, don't know. Like I said, for me, I have to question myself, right? I have to question, it's not so much, even more so about them. Like, obviously, yes, people can make their choice, right? And, however, until that person passes away, they can also make a different choice, so, but that's something, I don't know. But anyway, basically what I'm saying is I had to, do a little bit more research about evangelism and about, like, what truly doing the commission looks like and everything. And that kind of gave me another perspective on everything as well. But yeah, I think that's a whole different conversation. So I apologize for bringing that up without tying it back into humility. I don't know. But anyway, well, check this out, y'all. Sorry, I'm laughing because it's like, it's that balance, though. It's that balance. And that's the thing. It's like, I think this is why, we shouldn't lean to our own understanding. Like, this is why we should be in the Word. This is why we should be getting, taking out time every day to, like, read what it says. Especially if you say you're a believer, then you need to be, like, getting into this. Because, obviously, again, there's something good for you to grasp every day. You can read the same verse every day and get something different. But, like, I don't know, I just find it funny. The Bible verse of today. The Bible verse of today is John 14:6. It says, Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Whew, y'all know that's that controversial verse. That's them fighting words for some people. And I guess I found it funny because I'm just like, Jesus humbly said that I am the way. You know what I mean? It's just it's that balance there that, like, I am the authority. However, I am humbly saying this. You know what I mean? That's just me, though. That's just me and my little interpretation. I'm probably going to find it funny and everything. Somebody told me that. Somebody told me that some years ago. They was like, you find the funny in situations where... And I was like, well, I don't know. So perhaps that's why it's funny to me. So I apologize if it's not funny to you. But yeah. So reflect on that, friend. The humility of Christ, as well as knowing, that He's the way, the truth, and the life. And no man should come to the Father except through Him. Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow with the Lord's will. Bye-bye. If you like what you hear, then consider supporting our podcast. Every listener that supports us for $9.99 a month will be entered into our monthly raffle for a chance to win a free gift. So become a supporter today.